Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on SortTables, which is a data viewer. We finished a big change that was from using the class style notification to using struct-based notification in the Swift UI stuff. It really made an improvement, and now we're back on to features. Now, the one we're going to work on today is table renames, which actually was in the original version, and we dropped it along the way. But it does serve a function, so I want to bring it back. And after we get the tables renamed, we'll work on column renaming, and I'm not sure what else. We've got other things on the list. All right. Before we go too far, I did a couple minor tweaks last night after our session, so I wanted to share those if I can get them up. All right, so database selection didn't need the imports anymore. We had a function reference tables that was used by our original writing mechanism, and now that's all handled automatically with Codable. So that went out. Let's see. I guess it's just a space in there. I added visible. So it says, it used to say tables and columns. Now it says visible tables and columns. And then the to do. So we will, I don't know, minor tweaks. That's a lousy message, but that's all I got. Okay, so our to-do. Allow renaming of tables, yes. Disallow duplicate names, because that kind of defeats the purpose. Use the rename in the joins list. Okay, so, well, let's just do a quick run here. And then allow adding new tables. So this is renaming. This is adding new tables, repeating an existing table. And then select configurations, rename fields, and so on. All right, so we're still in this create database. And what I want to do is, I'm not sure how to best convey that we're renaming it. But I'm leaning towards just like equals and then a text field. And maybe with room for, I don't know, 20 characters or something. And if you, when you start, it starts out equal to its main entry class. And we can change it. This is not, the table name is not visible anywhere. Like when you're using the tool, you see these column names. Those come from the column names of the data, but the table names are really only used here. So the situation I'm imagining, notice that a class references instructor FK. Well, that's in the person table. And so that's the instructor for a class. We would like to be able to link the student from this registration to a class and show the instructor's name in the class. Well, if we link it to the person, we have the wrong ID. We'll have the student's ID instead of the teacher's. So if we have to, we really need a second table that's also a person table. Maybe we'll rename that to instructor, and then we can link instructor.id to instructor foreign key here and get the information we're after. So these table names are only going to show up here and, well, on the line with the thing. So you'll see the renamed class, eventually the renamed column, and those will help you link up whatever goes to whatever. I don't know. We didn't do anything to get rid of renaming in the production side, so I suspect our working schema can still handle renaming, but we haven't done anything with it on the database, configure database side. All right. So I guess that's database view. Okay, it's going to have an all tables view, which has a one table view. All right, so we have the selectable table button. I'm kind of thinking, well, how are we going to do this? I think let's get the UI supporting it first, and then we'll add the actual backend support. Okay, so I'm going to put this as an H stack. So we want to horizontally put these, and then all right, and then I don't know, is it text field? Now binding is table selection. All right, let's see what table selection looks like. Well, we're going to have to dollar rename table. And I don't know what else goes in here. So this can be state for the moment. Well, no, that's probably not right. Let's look at this. Okay, so table selection. I guess that's the thing that probably needs to know the renamed table. All right, so I don't mind giving it a field. I guess let's do renamed table as a string. And the value is, no, he's got to be an actual variable. Okay, and the init equals metadata.table. Okay, so this is the original, this is the renamed, and we'll make it editable in here. So one table, let's make this dollar table selection dot rename table. Okay, and then I don't remember what the constructor wanted. Text. I don't know what that text would be. Don't need that one. All right, so Swift UI text field. I guess text is what we want in there. Okay, and then this is field name maybe. Text. We don't need a prompt. I guess we want a label and a. All right. So this is. And we'll make this one of our English locale. Okay, so I guess it's probably database view rename table. And I don't know if we really want to show it. Okay, and I don't think we had any contents, right? Yeah. Okay. And then, I don't know, should I disable autocorrection? Seems plausible. Tables can be a little funky, but all right, lost. There we go. Sorry. Add a duplicate button. Yeah, so we'll need something to add one. I think any copies, you should be able to add any number. I mean, real usage, it's pretty rare, but you could imagine some sort of like a contract that has multiple parties involved, and there could be an arbitrary number of people joined to a to the contract, say. So we bought a house not long ago. It's like there's the bank and there's us and there's the realtors involved and the old people and their bank. There's a lot of people involved, each potentially having a name. Add a new name to create the copy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure what to put for the new name. At some point, we probably want to say like, hey, you can't have two things named class or person. That would be confusing. We won't know which one to grab. Okay. Let's see. So I think this will give us something. Hopefully, I'm hoping this starts with the, whoops. It should start with the same name as is there and be editable, and nothing's really happening to it. We are changing our database selection, but that's okay. We don't have real users. Okay. Well, it doesn't look very editable. Well, but it may be. Okay. Well, let's get that up to a full size. I don't know how to suggest that it's editable other than we're going to put a box around it. Styling, default style. Text field style. Rounded border. Text field style. He kind of takes all kinds of things. Nope. That's what I want. I want to play in rounded border, square border. I think maybe square border will say, hey, let's do that. Yeah, I just want to copy this. Okay. It's got a prince or something. No, just dot. Okay. Set any text field style dot type. Text field style. Huh. Okay. Is that going to work better? No. Oh. Let's just try rounded border. I guess that'll be there. Yeah, I think. That may be too big. Yeah, I think that's all right. Okay. Right, and now this should be session dot. All right, but I think that's all right. Need a virtual table to the config so you can select other columns differing from the original. Yeah. I definitely have ideas on those lines. The one I keep thinking of is date, because there's sometimes where you'd like to be like year, month, day, but you actually have a date column, and so it would be nice to have a transform that split that apart. And you can imagine other ones too. Date's the one I keep coming back to though, but I mean, somebody could have a two word field, and you want to get the two parts separately, or phone number, and you want to pull out the area code or something. I can imagine other ways you might want to split things, but yeah, I'm not sure how that's gonna play out in the schema. I'm not so sure, but there definitely is at least some use case for it. Yeah. All right. This looks okay to me. It's I think we're going to have to do some critiquing, just like we did up here. But I don't have a better way to indicate that this is a rename. I don't want to say also known as, because I'm going to let you only use one name. Skinny Mind, welcome. Yeah, we're doing Swift UI. So, well, I should say half this app is in Swift UI and half is in UI Kit. So the table in the background is using a UI Kit spreadsheet component to let you rearrange columns, and we're doing sorting and stuff like that with it. And then all this screen and some other screens are Swift UI. So there's a little bit of interface code to get from the UI kit over to the Swift UI. But once we're in Swift UI, we just write straight Swift UI, and it's okay. So this part is configuring a database, and with a database you get tables, and then they usually have to be joined. So here, a registration for a class, we want to join class FK to class ID, and then person FK to person ID, and then we don't really want to even see this registration table. That's not useful to look at. It's just a bunch of keys. Okay. All right. So I mean, we have something that is editable, and it's in our database selection. So that's good. The next thing, I don't know, the way joins are calculated, right? That's going to be different. Okay. Let's see. I guess it's going to be off database view. View. All right. So we have this database header section. This is the tables. and we print each table and each column within the table, and now we have a rename name associated with the table. Then we have the section for joins, database.scoped columns. That's really not right. So scoped columns, a scoped column is one of these class.instrument kind of things. So we ask the database, what tables do you have? And let's make a column for each one. But I think the way we're going here, we don't want to ask the database because it's got the real column names and table names. We need to ask our selection object for that. So that's kind of a change. It's something we could have done before. But I guess we want to ask, we need to get the selection.scoped column. So let's test that into place. All right, so we have database selection. Let's get its tests. See if I can do this right. Done. There we go. Okay, so, oh, okay. Yeah, and I had some friends last night. We just looked at Compose that they use in Kotlin. And, again, very similar approach to the way you create your UI. Sort of assumes, give me the state and I'll draw the UI, and then the framework kind of keeps track of things more. We switched to the struct form because it keeps track better, I guess I'd say, although that may have been me. All right, so database selection. So I think what we want is kind of this sort of method in coming off of the data in our database selection, and we're not going to get the table. We're going to get the rename table name. Okay, so let's see if this tested that. SQL database test and scoped columns. Okay. Well, that's a long test for what it's doing. All right, but we'll take this. And I'm going to adapt it into database selection tests. Add a clone table to all tables. I think Jones will know that. Let's see. I'm not sure if... Well, all tables needs to be fed from the database selection, which is this stuff. The original version, the original table and the original columns is coming from the database, but if you said what thing should you join, it should be session.id at this point. There is no class, or from the user's reference point of view, class is the SQL name, and this is the name we're going to work with. Hot reload restart. No, unfortunately, it rebuilds every time. As far as I know, I have to do that. The thing they do have, and it just doesn't work very well for us, they have a preview facility, but it just takes forever to start up, and it gets jammed up sometimes. So, and it also runs. It also sucks up a lot of CPU, so the video gets kind of crappy, I guess. So we don't use it too much, but you could see why you'd want it, because we're iterating back and forth on UI, and we don't really want to do the whole rebuild thing. But unfortunately, I think we'd have to. I'd love to find out otherwise. Okay, so this, and I'm just pasting this test, and we're going to chop it way down. All right, so we got a valid SQL database can get columns. I'm just going to call this scoped columns. That's kind of going to be the name. All right, we don't need this. We don't need that. Well, we got the table. Let's see, what does database selection take? I think it just takes the tables. Oh, where does it get that stuff? Oh, table selections. Yeah, so, oh, let's see who initializes this. It's not bad. I mean, I don't think this is a huge data setup, but I've got a fair number of classes. It does okay. A few seconds usually. The first time you start up, it's unbearably slow, though. I will say that. All right, so where's my search? Database configuration. Open. Well, I forget who does all this. Somebody has to. I guess I'm going to find the table selection. Whoever's creating this is the one doing all the work to find it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so when we detail selection. Okay, so I guess table selection has the information we want. We just have to create those for our test. Okay, and this is not doing much. Oops. We just need a table with a couple fields. So I'll take this out for a moment. We don't need to make sure the database does its database things. Okay. And I guess I want to say, let's make a variable that's a database selection. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So we'll say selection dot table selections equals, and then we'll make an array. Yeah, we just need the one. Oh, table. Okay. The table is the table. And then the columns is an array. Well, first name and ID. Okay. Now let's do selection dot, well, do it the other way around. I'm going to extract this variable. Call it table. Make him a bar. Okay, and now I can modify him. Table dot rename table equals new table. Okay, and now don't need this anymore. Ugh. Okay, create a selection, create a table, rename the table, tell the selection this is your table stuff, and then I'm going to ask it selection dot scoped columns. assert equal, and then selection.scope columns equals something. All right, so scoped columns here is array of scoped columns. Okay, so we're going to have an array of scoped columns, and the first one is going to be new table with column. I'm just going to go to one column, my column. Because we're not really dealing with columns renaming or anything like that. Okay, so this can go in a line. All right. Columns. Oh, that might be nice. Yeah, there's no field for it yet. Yeah, I don't know why they kind of have leaned on that style of naming these prefixes. I don't know of an ORM for SQLite. Yeah, built in. Oh, yeah, third party toolkit. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. XCT on the front is kind of an annoying thing, but I guess it's to help kind of keep the make it easier for people to put things in and not conflict as much, I guess. But I don't know. All right, so let's also look at selection dot scoped columns sub 0 should be this dot my column. New table dot my column. Okay. All right. Create a selection, create a table selection, rename the table, put the table in the selection, ask the selection for the scoped columns. We should get the new name dot my column, and then if we look at the description of that scoped column, it should be new table dot my column. All right, I think that's all right. So we need scoped columns over on database selection, and I'm going to copy this. And I think that probably can go pretty high up. All right, so we let's just return nothing for now. Oh, maybe I should do the sorted version, but let's make sure the test fails. And then we'll work on making it harder. Yeah, that's not the failure I wanted. I don't know, I can probably say dot description. Okay. Yeah, since we hard coded the assumption it's there, it's going to blow up. All right. I think that's legit. Okay, so now, well, let's take our table selections. And then, Well, okay, each of those is a table selection. So we're going to map table in. All right. And then, okay, I got to do columns for table. Well, columns for sounds like something they knew up here. Yeah. Okay, but the table description knows it's columns, so we can still get it from there. So, all right. So, uh, table dot columns gives us an array of strings, right? So let's do that. Table dot columns. We want to map each string in. I'm not sure if I'm going to regret this later, but okay. So we're going to take each table, and for each one, we're going to walk through the columns, and then, okay, yeah, then flat map it at the end. So for each column, we need to make a scoped column. And we can't use table because it's really table dot renamed. But the column is just whatever it says it is, at least for now. All right, and then dot flat map $0. So this, let's see, I lost a table columns dot map. Okay, so this produces a list of lists because each table generates an array of stuff, array of scoped columns. We'll flat map it. I'm going to leave out the sorted because our test doesn't really demand that. But this should make our test pass as it is. Hey, Tukes96, welcome back. Yeah, so we're working on renames today. We're starting with the tables. We've got a field to let you rename the table inside, and now we're adding some support so that the joins that show up, we want those to be based on those renamed tables. All right, so here I'm going to extend this a little bit. And this is, I sometimes do this with tests. You know, it's like I get this starter test, and then I think, well, you know, if I just extend the test a little, it's, you know, all the setup and all that stuff is already in place, and I could have written this test first anyway, but I just didn't because it was too hard. My column 2, and then let's catch the other one too. This is selection 1. His description is my column 2. Okay, so this test, let's put the order backwards. Let's make this another column. I kind of want it to fail. And actually, I want this to be first because I want them sorted. All right, and they are not sorted now. Unfortunately, they maybe, well, yeah, okay. It's random, so you don't really know if it's going to be sorted. But we walk through the thing in a defined order. So, okay, new table my column isn't, and new table another column is not equal to new table another, new table my. All right, so we can just add that sorted in. Dot sorted. Take this suggestive code we stole out, and this test should pass. Okay. Oh, yes, that's actually correct. Okay. Okay, this should be 0, should be another column, and this should be 1. All right, good. So we added editable field for the column name, and we added scoped columns to database selection. Okay, I really should have run all my tests. I guess I did. Yeah, okay. All right, now the usage here, we're calling table selections equals that. That's okay. It's where we pass in to our joins. So the scoped column should not be database, but it should be bridge.selection.scoped columns. All right, I think that'll be all right. And we're not changing them. I don't know. I don't think we're changing them. Well, we're not changing them in the all joins view. They're defined by the table view. So I think this is the right way. All right, so then we'll run to see this. If you're asking me, I don't do any freelancing on iOS. I don't know much, Arc. Do you? Okay, so here are joins. Okay, they look okay, but we can't tell. Let's make this session. Oh, okay, that's a problem. Now we got session and person's not there. Oh no, class is not there. But what happens to the ones we already did? Selection class instrument is invalid, does not have an associated tag. Right, yeah, so class is there. This says this approach is not going to work. Okay, so the problem is if I put a join in and then I rename the class that participates in it, nothing tells it to update anything. Huh. I don't know. It's my real goal is to make it a desktop app, and I haven't switched over to the Mac OS side for that. So, my expectation is I would run it on the Mac more than I would an iPad. But yeah, I haven't played with it there. I've done a little bit with Elm in the last couple of years, but as much Swift as anything. Yeah, it'd be interesting as a web app. Where I really would like to use it as my desktop though. Maybe that's going out of style, right? You got Google Sheets and all that stuff. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's see. So, how is this going to work? I don't know how to make this tie back in. I mean, the classic way is to use classes instead of structs, but we're kind of built around structs. Um, Now, we could, I think we can make a struct that points to a class. I'm not quite sure what will happen to it from a UI update point of view. Um, hmm. All right. So changing the name, right? Because the way it is today, the joins are defined when the screen is opened, but we're changing something in it. So that seems wrong. Um, yeah, I can still run it as an iPad app, and I can also uh, do the work to make it a Mac OS app. I mean, they've added that in the last few years. I can just add Mac OS and then adjust everything that's going to break because of it. Well, adjust all the things that aren't strictly Mac compatible, I guess. Okay. Gosh. So maybe these scope table objects. Because if you add a table, that's got to show up in that list too. So they're not. Hmm. That's a good question. So the joins list. The possible joins, right? That has to be a dynamic thing because now we're changing tables. Well, we're changing table names, and eventually, like in well, maybe not today, but by next time we have an add table that lets you select which table to add, and that would also change the list of available tables for the join. So whatever this thing is that contains these, it has to be dynamic. Okay, that really does change the way the join works, the join table. Okay, so it's given this constant thing. I mean, maybe that set is. I mean, I can imagine there's a set of join scoped columns, basically. And then at the end, we're going to have to do something to convert them back. That really gets messy. All right, so, well, what have we changed? I'm going to revert to this because I think this is just going to be a bad direction or inadequate. um, Use desktop or share it. Maybe monetize it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not opposed to sharing it per se. Can create copies of tables in separate lists that you merge with all tables for joins. Yeah, I think that's what we've got to do. Something that it's really part of the view as far as what things are available. Well, I don't know. It's got to change when this changes. That's the tricky part. Well, okay. So what's that object look like? I don't know. It's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to point to these table names. And then when that changes, see, I don't know if this is going to become, if we have to do more conversion work when it's done, and it shouldn't really be part of this. If I do it for myself, desktop Mac app's the best choice. Yeah, that's probably true. Um, I don't quite see it taking over the world on anything, but um, yeah. I mean, I don't know what would be feasible on the in the more general side. Okay. Hmm. I almost wonder if I need to give these instances an ID, like the table selection instances, and then map the list of things through that ID. Yeah. So the name changes based on a map. Well, let's see. So if I knew, I don't know if I want to worry about the field names yet, but the columns. If I knew every ID goes to what value here, I guess I'd need to detect changes in this. Or would I? If I knew the IDs here, then the display is look up the ID and then find the name in there. So that's sort of a map from ID to class name is what's being edited. A clone button. Yeah, so I think just like we say add join, I think we're going to say add table and maybe give you a selector here for what table to add, or maybe it's the selector and then add table. You'd add that and you would get another class table, maybe some modified name, it's class two or something. Class equals class two. I don't know. I guess if I had session not defined, it wouldn't matter, but something to give you a new table. But I think the problem I'm having here is really if you change a name here, these joins have to be dynamic and know this name change. And I think it's almost maybe it's not information that belongs in the table selection. Um, yeah, I think maybe this information is not part of table selection, but it's part of the joins. So if the table rename changes, but the ID of this object stays the same, we can let the join reflect that change. I think should be okay. So I think that's a map from ID to string, but you have to be allowed to change the string. I just don't know. Okay. Well, I can give these. No, but you're changing the table selection. You're going to change this too. Wow. And this is something we did before. So 3 years ago, I knew how to solve this, but not with structs. This is a little different with structs. I guess I have to map. Now, maybe this is where it goes. That it knows class, and you add another one. It's class 2 and class 3 and class 4. That's the name that doesn't change. The underlying table is class, but the extension gives me the key I need. I don't know. Yeah, well, right. Then I have to go the other way. I mean, this is what I don't want becoming invalid. Okay, I don't know. So it's an ID. Sorry, it can't even be the ID because this changes the ID, I think. Let's do a little spike on that. Make sure I understand what I'm saying here. Okay. So let's make this identifiable too. For ID. Okay, and then in the database view, whoops. In the database view, let's print out that, I guess it's one table view. And let's print table selection dot. No, this is one table. It should be a table selection. Is that what I just changed? And that's not this one that needs the ID. It's the other one. Table selection. Okay, and then down in here, oops. Do I do the same thing? Need foundation. One table view, table selection dot ID. Okay, so I should get the little text name there, some sort of UUID. And then my feeling is it changes as I change the visibility. Okay, can we name the table and joins? Okay. Chose iOS instead of Java. Yeah. Yeah, I like the ecosystem as well. I mean, I feel like, whoops, when I've done the projects in Swift, I'm getting a much nicer graphic interface than I would normally get in projects I do. Not that I'm the best graphic designer or anything to start with, but you know, the other toolkits, it's not as slick looking, no animation, all that stuff that comes so cheaply here. Okay. Well, that's a name. Okay, so 1DA7909 to B76 does not change. Does not change. That means I don't understand things as well as I want. Okay, well, maybe that's good news. So this always points to that. Make sure this doesn't do it. No? Okay, so that ID is staying the same. All right. I didn't expect that. Okay, so given they have an ID, I can map ID to string. All right. I don't know if I'm going in a good direction or not here. So ID will map to, I think it's got to be a class containing a string, and then I can change the string without changing the class. And that's the thing that I'm going to edit on these things. Okay. Let's take this out of the database view. Oh, sorry, the one table view. All right. So if the join pointed to that ID and then always dereferenced it through to get to the variable for it, then that name wouldn't matter, I think. Do you think you develop an Apple ecosystem with Swift or a different developer, or it's the same principles? I think a lot of principles are the same. I mean, at least like Swift, Kotlin, Java, C Sharp, they're so similar in a lot of things. You get to more obscure languages, you're thinking about some things differently. But there's a lot of details too. I mean, I spend a lot of time looking up stuff, and maybe I should remember more, but it just feels like wow, there's just a lot there. Java's even worse from what I can tell nowadays. The last time I did a team with Java, they actually were switching to Kotlin and had mostly switched. So even that, you can see a lot of libraries and a lot of stuff that's around for the Java ecosystem sliding over in there. Okay. I guess my question is if this has state that says map an ID to a class containing a string, and then when you edit it, I mean, I guess that's going to have to pass down with it. When you edit the string, we want to, I guess, reflect it in the class database table selection, and also reflect the joins to get the current value of that string. Okay. Is that too much? So it's a UUID to a new class. I'm going to make it here. I don't know if this is just strictly UI or not. All right. Class string holder. Okay. Let's see that. Okay. And then here, we're going to have state. I guess I'm going to say equals. That's not going to be better, is it? No. Maybe my syntax was just that bad before. Okay. I don't know. I guess all tables view, I'm going to have to give it this value because I want to change it here. Okay. Okay. It makes you okay, but then we don't do anything with it. So now we got to go to one table view. Okay. Let's see. These are all still view things. Now, when I edit the text, I guess I want to give it All right, and then some setup. I don't know. We create the table metadata here. Table selections dot for each. Okay, we got a table selection. And we're going to say ID to rename dot well, here, just do it this way, of table selection dot ID equals table selection dot table is the initialization. Okay. Let's see. Right. Can I do it just a $sign? Can I convert value? I think I still need a. Cannot find it to rename in scope. Yeah, because he's got to be a binding now. Okay, that's probably a good thing. Send. I don't think that's going to help enough. No. Can I convert binding of dictionary element binding key ID to expected argument binding of string? Ugh. I don't know if that's saying it's a bad path. Is that going to help anything? Well, wrapped. To expect type binding of string. I don't know how I grab something out of that to edit it. Like, does it need to be something else? Can I do this? I feel like I'm burying myself. I don't know. This is looking kind of painful. Cannot convert. Okay. And then down here, to name, this is not a binding, it's a table string. So binding. I don't know. I'm doing this wrong. Can I just create binding like that? No. Cannot convert value of string to expect a type binding of string. I think maybe I have to define get and set or something. Creating a binding. Create a binding by projecting the base value to an unwrapped value. Yeah, that's the one I've seen the most. Wrapped value. So I should be able to say binding of value. Yeah, I don't really want the at binding. Goodness. So we have binding class. Bindable, is that the right one? No, this is kind of an old school way. Passing to bindings, I don't know. Yeah, they're just gonna do binding and at binding. All right. So I want the ID table to point to instances of no, it's not table selection dot table. I think it's my little helper class I didn't do anything with. String holder. Can I convert value of type string holder to expected value type binding of string? Maybe this is binding string holder. Well, that one I can forgive. Okay, I mean, I have to bubble it through. Okay, so now I've got ID to rename goes from UUID to the binding to string holder. So I'm hoping I can pass those along. All right, so this is going to take over. So where's one table? All tables view. This becomes binding of string holder. And then same thing here. I hope that's okay. Cannot convert string holder to expected type binding of string holder optional. So a property wrapper type. That's to create bindings of type that conforms to observable, use the bindable property. Now we're not doing observable. I think that's what they use, right? To mutable properties of observable objects. I want to create a string holder. Now, why is this a problem? Cannot convert value of type string holder to expected type binding of string holder. Okay, string holder. Do I have to say the name? What's... Cannot convert a value of type string holder. Oh, this is more like it. Okay. You can also create bindings by hand. All right, well, let's try this binding. Yeah, I don't see how that's going to quite work. Look at the example again. I don't know. What's this one complaining about? Let's just make a string holder and see. I may have screwed it up the first time too much. All right, so the map is not going to be a binding, it's just going to be a string holder. Okay. Gonna convert value. All tables view. String holder. I don't know what that means. Okay, now this I don't want. Is that going to work? Cannot convert value. Binding of dictionary UID to expected type. Binding of string. Can I do that? No. Not string, huh? That's what I was expecting. Is that compiling? No. Value of optional type string holder must be unwrapped to refer. Convert value of string. Expected type. Binding of string. So that's not going to work. Dot projected. Binding of string holder. Projected value gives you a string holder, binding to a string holder optional. Yeah, so I was trying to make it so the joins would know the ID, and then they could look it up in the ID to rename to get the value to show. And if ID to rename changed, they should change. But the current state. I mean, everything would be pointing to the same one. So if you had two references, one before and one after you're renamed, they would both be pointing to that same string holder is what I'm trying to do, but I'm messing it up. So um, I don't know how far to unwind it. A projection that returns a binding to a string holder optional. But I need a binding to a string is the problem. UUID to expected type dot index. Referencing subscript on binding requires UUID conform to mutable collection. Now I don't know why that. I don't know if dictionary can be mutable. All right, well, let's take a break. I'm crawling around in the mud bad enough, I think. So 3 or 4 minutes and we'll come back and see what we can do. I'm kind of short on ideas here. All right, welcome back. Okay, this feels too balled up. So if I get balled up for half an hour, I don't know, 20 minutes, whatever it was, probably time to revert something. Okay. So maybe I should do it from another side. I don't think it's terrible. Let's see, where's database selection? Did we give? Oh, table selection. I've still got rename table. Okay. So what I'm thinking is maybe it's our joins that are off and they need to hold the table selection. Is that going to work? Let's try that. All right, where's our joins? Our database selection. So a join just knows the scoped column. And he just knows table. I don't know if I try and make him know table selection and then dig in there for the renamed name. It's going to change a bunch of things. Yeah. I mean, scoped column is mostly for the benefit of this join, so that shouldn't be too many things, I guess. I'm just confused by the fact that changing the flags on that mutable or the table selection did not force it to change the ID because my model was any change in any struct held by a struct would trigger the struct to change, but apparently not. So I don't know if I'm getting shared state or not. All right, so if I change this to table selection, I guess that's a refactoring in a sense, depending how we get them there. Let's see who creates these. Maybe this is a bigger step than I'm after. And it's a lot of things. All joins view knows them. Okay. Yeah, where's the constructors? There's one. Maybe I should ask it that way. Is there an init? No. Well, there's one. This is the init, right? Table. Okay. Yeah, I think we can look at, let's try and change this. All right. So right now we have the effect of init this. Okay. That's a refactoring. Yes, he's redundant. Not for long. Okay, and now I'm going to add another constructor. Table, table selection. Table. Okay. Are you both allowed? Right. Okay, so now, all right, anybody who's creating a scoped column in real life, like this thing, well, I'm going to change that, but I want to switch it to use the table version. I think this is the main place. These are tests. Okay, so scoped columns, well, nobody's using this anymore. That's apparently not true. How did you, oh, okay, but this could be, bridge. Selection. Oh, there's something wrong. Scoop comes up first with, okay. Tests, okay. All right, so I don't think anybody uses this one anymore. This one. This one defines it. Two tests use it. We don't care about those. All right, so, well, let's Run tests. All right, and run the real thing. Now, I don't think this solves the problem yet. If it can solve it. But I think we should still see this. Okay, so if I add a join, class.instrument, now if I change this, it's going to mess up. Oh, not so bad. The selection class instrument is invalid and does not have a tag. Interesting. So something good went on there. Let's add another one. And let's make this person.id and rename this to person2. Oh, didn't take. Something's not bubbling in. Ugh. This is the worst. All right. Person2.name. And if I make it person22, blip and it resets. Okay, but I don't think what I did solved it yet. I'm surprised this name is showing up in there, though, I will say. Yeah, that's not the problem. Scoped column. Okay. Now, can I switch? Joins are not using IDs, but I think what I can do if I make this hold a table selection, I guess this is where I'm going. I'm not sure it's going to work or not. When you make a string, okay, this one's okay now, but this one, I don't know who's calling this constructor. Metadata. Table sub metadata sub table. Let's just fake up metadata. Insert comma. Well, I think it's more like insert a append. Okay. Now, who calls this? If it's a bunch of tests, I'm not too worried. This, though. Okay, yeah, that's calling the old one. We're going to change that one. Database selection tests. test SQL database. We're not using that place anymore. This is no longer a real factor. It's in a test. Yeah, it's in these tests, but it's not really used. So that one doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so so this, okay, that one we're going to have to change. That's tests, database, and tests. So they don't care. I don't think the tests are going to be bothered by this, but I think this should just be table. Okay, so now we're getting access to the table selection. All right, let's run. Oops. Join.column1.table. Okay, let's go back to join. Let's go to column. Dot table. Gonna renew this selection. Oops. I'm just gonna manually rename it because I don't want to get those other people. I want them to complain. Okay, which is a little weird. Okay, so now the problem is there is no table. And let's make a var table of string. And the value is self.selection.table. Okay, we're going to change it to renamed in a minute. Okay, so, oh, it's not hashable. Oh dear. Table selection. Well, let's make that hashable. I don't think it needs anything because this is all simple stuff. Barely not. You're supposed to volunteer for me. Okay. Really? Let's write text. No. Okay. Swift. I know I have to define bind or something. Into. We need to get any. This probably goes up here because it's data not computed. Table metadata does not conform to hashable. Now that one should. So we'll combine. Well, I don't know if it needs this or not. Because if the children are all hashable, it should be hashable. Okay. Yeah. Back to database selection. I'm thinking this should still fail the same way. I'm going to add a join. If I change this to class 2, okay, that did not change. All right, and then that's where I think I should change. All right, where is scoped column? All right, so now I want to switch to using the tables selection.renamed. Okay, I mean, I think the pieces are there, but I feel like something about the immutable objects that are involved is going to create a problem, but we'll see. All right, let's take different values so we can see it change if it does. Okay, I would like this to change it to 2s, but this complains. And it didn't keep the fields. I'm surprised it kept. I'm surprised it kept this though. Okay. There's no more class. Okay, so person 2. That changed it back. Something's going right and something's going wrong. I guess that's progress. All right. So I don't think anybody's using this anymore. Tables, selections, yeah, that's not. These tests do, but I'm not so worried about them. SQL database, scope column table. Well, again, I don't think this is really used, so I don't think that one's a problem. And then that one. All right, so database selection. I mean, this is no longer referencing that. I think the place it was here, where now it has a table selection. And I think maybe just to keep things straight. Okay, so we passed that table selection through. Okay, so, it appears so something is getting reset that makes the current selection bad. So I think what's happening there is when you change this value, the join list, let's see where that comes from. Right, so the bridge selection joins, well, bridge selection scoped columns returns a different thing. It changes the value to class 2, say, but it doesn't recognize the current selection. And so I don't know if it's redrawing it. When would the join columns change? Well, the way I have it at this point, and I'm not convinced it's worth keeping, but um, the join, well, start here. Scope column now knows the table selection. So table selection has the renamed table. And when you put the joins together, they take one of those with the renamed stuff in it. And if to me, if you rename that value, well, this depends on it. It should rename. And something is kind of happening like that because this does rename. Um, but the the list of the list of columns, let's see. Yeah, this creates those tables with table selections, so it's getting the rename value. This has bridge.selection. I guess, like, where's it change? I kind of wonder if this should be the binding to that. Because they're, well, no, we're not changing these during, from the point of view of this, right? All joins view does not change the scope columns. Database table does, and it does work off that bridge selection. So yeah, it should only change the name. I believe at this point that when you change the name of the rename table, that changes the direct value of of table selection. That's what's leaving me puzzled. And maybe this bug or error message here is reflecting that. I don't know how the picker knows its value. Let's go to all joins view. Binding to joins. Okay, because it can delete them, right? Scoped columns is not a binding because we don't change them in here. Perhaps joins shouldn't know the names of the tables. Well, he needs to somehow, I mean, his job is really to put this table dot name value in. So he's got to know something, and I think he should know the renamed name. And something like that's kind of going on. Because if I do a rename, I mean, that's problematic, but this now shows rename registration 23. So that update here is definitely updating this list of possibilities. The question is, what happens to these? And I mean, it still thinks somebody's trying to get class at time slot, which I think they were trying to get class 2 at time slot, and it didn't update right. Okay, names of tables should just be presentation and the schema. Well, the problem I want to solve though is this instructor FK, that I want to create a different person table. I want to add table person, rename it to instructor, and say class dot instructor FK equals instructor.id. And I might have other things involving the student, but I need that I need the renamed name. Otherwise, if it's just class, I'm sorry, if it's two person tables, you can't distinguish them. In here, you say person.id equals instructor FK. How do you know which table it is? So we got to somehow distinguish them. Now, now would the ID of the join help? I don't know. I mean, that might be the next place to look. And I think maybe that's kind of what you were at one point, that if this just held the table selection ID, what would happen? Well, you still need to get to the table selection. No. Yeah, I'm really puzzled on this. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of close, but I'm just not connecting the dots right. Let's see. So it's a little after 4. I don't know. I don't feel like I've got enough time to, even if it works, to really kind of bring it home. So I don't know. I may just leave this for next year. Unbelievable to say it, but I think we're trying to do something right, like getting this so the join listing changes. That seems like a good thing. The question is, what happens to the existing ones? Here's registration 23, and if I change the name, it resets. Okay. And that's a problem. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to revert again. I mean, at some level, that should have just been a spike, but it's a pretty intense spike. Source control, discard changes. Okay, so as far as my to do, let's capture that 2, 2, 3, 12, 20. We tried a couple approaches to making a renamed table available to the join section. None really worked. Okay, I think that's a fair assessment of 2 hours of work. Yeah, okay, so I reverted. Let's look at something else. Adding new tables. No. Configurations to open rather than typing their names. Maybe. Should we save config when the database selection changes? Offer to save before opening or switching databases. I don't know. That's a 20-minute job. This one might be the easiest. Let's see if we can get this one done. So this is a different screen. All right, so this is open database configuration, and I think yesterday we did test 1219.st. Can't read. Oh, because we changed stuff. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's delete these. And let's take this out. Okay, so we'll just get the classes. And we'll save this as test1220.st. All right, and I'm going to close this and then reopen that with that screen. Open database config, test1220.st, open. Join still has the map table name, not their IDs. Yes, that's correct. Well, not anymore, but yes, that was correct. Okay, so yeah, I think just a file picker, just like, whoops, just like we did here. Okay, you choose these databases. There just aren't that many configurations. I could see dropping little buttons and having a page full of them, and you select one, but I think this will be fine. Okay, so let's um, let's look at that database view. Okay, so it had the picker comes in from database names, and um, it selects one, and then once it's listed them, when you click open, you'll get that one. Okay, so we'll do something similar. Let's see. I don't know what that's called, but it's some sort of create view. No. All joins, all tables, database, one table, save configuration. Where's our table controller? Somewhere in here we have buttons. Here we go. Open file, open web page, configure database. Do we just show the one? Open database. Open database configuration. Perform segue, open database. That's this one. Selection database selection. I don't want open database. Open database configuration. There we go. Okay. Database selection equals. Right, that's. I don't know where the UI is for this. Yeah. Open database configuration gets a file name. Who calls this? Oh, there's another controller. Okay. Table controller, open database configuration. Well, where? Table controller, open database configuration, text field.text. I don't know where that's coming from. Field text. Okay. All right, let's go find the storyboard. Yeah. Okay, so this segue open web page. No. Oh, this one. Open database controller. I can't tell if he's hosting. Phone name. Oh, so this is going to be a totally different mechanism. Oh. He's apparently not a UI hosting controller. This is back in UI kit land. All right. Well, I don't know if I have any selectors. I'm really not remembering how to do this stuff, man. All right, is it taking a while? There's a way to get the library of objects. I don't know what that's doing. Okay. Wow, it's just been too long. Whoops. This is a Swift UI thing, right? Oh no, UI cat. Picker view, that's not it. This is not an easy change either. Okay. You really don't want to change that. Okay, what else? Well, I have to say, I don't know how to do this one in 10 minutes. Let's see. The thing I would like to do, I don't know if I could. Let's run this again. I don't like the way that save at the bottom works. Yeah, I got to do that part in UIKit if I want to do it there. I'm tempted to change it over to UI hosting controller and do it in Swift UI, just to kind of get as much as I can in Swift UI at this stage. All right, but what we do this create database config thing, and we have this kind of awkward. I don't know, like what's the right model for this? I think you should be. I think you should be mostly saving the data configuration here. And I think the flow should be, I think there should be like a cancel button that's like clicking on the background, a save button, and then maybe this is maybe save and open, and this is just open or something like that. And if you cancel, I'd really like to pop up and ask, do you really want to, do you really want to do that? And then save should do its thing. Save should be like save and then open database. And then open data, just open says don't save the file, but do open the database. I don't know if that's needed or not. Hmm. So I guess I'm going to start down that path. Let's put this up to the top. And not quite sure how some of that's going to work, but we can modify database view for this anyway. All right, so we've got a button dismiss, which is open database. That's what dismiss does. I think I want to make an HStack button action colon dismiss and this HStack should also include this. Now you see there's a contradiction. The dismiss is the same action on both. I think what we're doing now is we need to work on that. All right, but let's get this constant in the locale. Okay. And then I think the last one, or this is save and open. And this is really just open. Okay, so let's catch this. Open database. I think we'll just say just open. All right. I probably forgot a semicolon somewhere. Config database. Cancel equals cancel. Save and open equals save and open semicolon. Boy, that parsing message could be a little better. Yeah, when switching database, yeah, that's another one. If you switch databases, you may have changed some stuff, so we should ask you. I think the other thing we have to do is the table controller, we need to pass a little more state that says, should you open? Okay, because if you cancel, we don't want you to open. But if you pick one of the other two, then we do. Okay, cancel. I guess I want some space. I don't know if I should put spacers before as well. I think there's just a bordered. I mean, this is kind of the normal case. Cancel, save and open, just open. All right, I think I can live with that. Okay. Well, all we did was we got buttons on configure database screen for cancel and save and open. But don't do anything different yet. Okay, and then offer to save before opening or switching the database. Yes. Should we save the config when the selection changes? I don't know about that one still. I'm going to drop that. I think if we prompt, that's going to be enough. Okay. And we need to make cancel. Make cancel not open anything. Yeah. And make save and open. And just open work differently from each other. Okay. All right. So I think, well, in the end, I want this out of here. I want this to pop up the dialog that asks this, and this to not have that dialog. So move make save and open pop up a save dialog. Yeah, I think that's what we want. Okay. All right. I don't know that we'll start with this. I think just it's okay. The next time in January 2nd. The renaming is the part that I'm really after, so this was just kind of a quick start on that. That's also future work, but renaming is really the goal, and I'll ponder what worked and what didn't, see if I can understand why that one didn't work. The last approach, I thought it was close. Something's off, and maybe there's too much going on if table selection works its way down into scoped column. That feels a little funny to me. I'd rather they just redrew themselves, and maybe that's doable on a rename. Like, go through and rework the joins and the selection. All right. Well, anyway, I am off from now till January 2nd. I may pop in at some point and do a session or two on some other unrelated work, but I won't work on SortTables until we get back. So at least that won't change on you. Have a good holiday season, and take care. And I hope I see you next year. Take care. Bye-bye.